The turmoil in Bangladesh is intensifying, and for New Delhi, this compounds problems. What are the solutions? You find out right here on India Sense. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. Let's first get you the headlines in the show this week. Anti-India protests erupt in Bangladesh as radical leaders' death triggers massive violence arson across the country. Osman Hadi's body has been repatriated to Dhaka after he succumbed to his injuries in Singapore. Awami League and media offices have been set ablaze. What is Mohammad Yunus doing as his country burns is the question. Donald Trump suspends green card lottery. The move comes after Brown University and MIT shootings. We decode for you how is it that this move will impact and how much will it impact Indians. Chaos in Trumpland as new Epstein photos have been released. Bill Gates, Donald Trump aide Steve Bannon all spotted. The big question, is this going to be yet another big controversy that will come to haunt the Trump administration? Pakistani peacekeepers in Gaza warning signs for India. Why is it that Donald Trump is increasingly relying more and more on Asim Munir? We tell you more about why is it that Donald Trump is pushing Pakistan to send its troops to Gaza. And India targets 3 lakh crore rupees of defense production by 2029, a big boost to indigenous manufacturing and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Viewers, the big story this week, it has to be Bangladesh. Look at what is happening in the last few days. Complete chaos as the country has descended into utter anarchy. Newspaper offices have been gutted. A young Hindu man was dragged out, lynched in ISIS style killing. It was a public execution. Well, all it took was one rumor and Bangladesh plunged into chaos. Turmoil, violence. You could see that in video after video that were coming to light. It started with rumors that the killers of Sharif Osman Hadi escaped to India. An incorrect campaign, misinformation. And what it led was a complete anarchy of the country. Hadi was a student leader who was part of the 2024 student-led uprising and had made repeatedly he had threatened India for its northeast. The rumor was an excuse that allowed Islamists and jihadis to take to streets to loot, plunder, destroy, burn anything, absolutely anything that linked any part of Bangladesh to India. And what you saw on your screens is what Bangladesh has been witnessing in the last couple of days. First up, listen in to what is it that Mohammad Yunus is saying, even as then we ask, what is it that he's actually doing? But first up, listen in to what he's saying.
আগামী দিনগুলোতে আমাদের সবাইকে ধৈর্য, সংযম, সাহস ও দূরদর্শিতার সঙ্গে এগিয়ে যেতে হবে, যাতে নির্বাচন ও গণতন্ত্রের শত্রু ফ্যাসিস্ট সন্ত্রাসী অপশক্তিকে চূড়ান্তভাবে পরাজিত করা যায়। এই শোকের মুহূর্তে আসুন আমরা শহীদ শরীফ ওসমান হাদির আদর্শ ও ত্যাগকে শক্তিতে পরিণত করি।
Now, viewers, with elections less than 2 months away, the question to ask is who stands to gain from this violence? Is it the jihadis who have been mainstreamed now and will have to be reined in under an elected government? Or is there more than what meets the eye? Now, let's be clear about one thing. This did not happen overnight. Bangladesh's fall has been orchestrated by those who fanned anti-India sentiment. And let's tell you how is it that Bangladesh has actually reached where it has. A country that has disowned the father of nation, removed secularism from its constitution, and embraced its former oppressor, Pakistan. I'm going to walk you through the new Bangladesh that Mohammad Yunus now talks about. Look at the veiled reforms he has put it and what all he has done. 200 plus radical Islamists have been freed in the country. He's completely erased Mujibur Rahman from nation's history. Open defecation on Mujibur Rahman statues have taken place. He's been removed from the currency note as well. The socialism, secularism, which was enshrined in the constitution, has been removed. 9% of minorities are facing those threats. And renewed ties with Pakistan. There have been army exchanges, customs, visas, a multiple set of norms have been revised. And the banned Awami League, and in fact, he banned Awami League, and Jamaat-e-Islami has returned. And Jamaat-e-Islami is the reason why you are seeing that violence on the streets. Now, viewers, there are two sides to the Bangladesh turmoil, and that needs to be identified. On one end are the global political realities, the role of China, Pakistan, due to the strategic location of Bangladesh and Northeast, and via all of them eyeing the Chittagong port. It's a very strategically located port. And on the other end is how is it that Mohammed Yunus will deal with the present flux. And on that, just remember, Mohammed Yunus has announced that Osman Hadi's family will be taken care of by the state. He needs to announce the same thing for Dipu Chandra Das, the boy, the Hindu boy who was publicly executed. If not, then the world will know which side is Mohammed Yunus standing on. And to know more about what really is happening as far as Bangladesh is concerned, let's get in Dr. Richard Benkin, someone who's written about Bangladesh for about 20 years. Dr. Benkin, I'm going to start by asking you about Bangladesh's descent. You've been seeing this for the last couple of years, but has this come as a shock to you?
No, I've been saying, and many others, of course, have also been saying that for the last year and a half, Yunus is pretty much just a fig leaf, and that the real power in Bangladesh since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina has been the Islamists. And this is a result of what happened. It's very much the playbook that we saw in Iran in 1979. So I think that's one. Number two, I've been going to Bangladesh for 20 years, and I have been shocked throughout that time at the undercurrent and a very strong anti-India sentiment. Now, if you look at the history of how Islamists come to power, they often will focus on a symbol that they can then get people agitated about to their cause, and in this case, it's India. India is the big bully next door, and from their perspective, even though, of course, as everyone knows, Bangladesh was only born because of the Indian military. So none of this should surprise anyone. And again, if we look at Iran, the 1979 revolution was building for a long time, but it just happened so quickly that, you know, what we're saying right now might be obsolete in 24 to 48 hours because there might be a new set of circumstances on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Which brings me to ask you about the role of China and Pakistan. We've spoken about the Islamists. What about the role of China and Pakistan?
With regards to China, I know that Prime Minister Modi has been really quite adept at maintaining relations with China, despite the fact that China and India have a good many geopolitical and other conflicts that they have to somehow deal with. However, he has maintained a good relationship with them. If, in fact, China is helping to fan those flames, what kind of diplomatic pressure can India bring to bear on China? What kind of agreements and relationships can India then call into question? In fact, hasn't China recently called for India and China to take a united stance against tariffs and trade wars? Well, what if India tells Xi Jinping, you want us to do it? Then you need to behave yourself and do the right thing with regard to Bangladesh, because it's even worse than we think. Because as you know, China has always had its eyes on Chittagong port as a warm water port on the Bay of Bengal. But we know now that China is also developing the Mangla port on the Bay of Bengal, south of Pune, near India. So China is really embedding itself further and further inside Bangladesh. And I think if China wants to maintain a relationship with India, I think India has the wherewithal to say to China, you want this? Here's what we need you to do. And they're not even asking for anything for themselves. They're saying, do the right thing for your minority citizens. And by the way, same thing with the United States. Obviously, the United States and China just signed a trade agreement. And doing these things would not only be the right thing to do, the just thing to do for the people who've been victimized by this terrible prejudice, by this horrible violence, almost since the birth of Bangladesh. But in fact, it would be the geopolitically correct thing to do because we really should look seriously at just as you put it, at China's encroachment into Bangladesh and what that means for the geopolitics of the region.
Right, Dr. Richard Benkin, thanks so much for speaking to me on India Sense. All right, shifting focus now to Pakistan and Donald Trump's love for Asim Munir that seems to continue unabated. And this time it's even for peace in Gaza. And he's taking a detour, and that is going through Islamabad. Washington is now courting Pakistan's Army Chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, as Donald Trump looks for muscle to enforce his Gaza plan. And in fact, Donald Trump doesn't care that he's legitimizing a failed general who's being repackaged as a peacemaker. But this is the utility that Pakistan serves for Donald Trump. Give its troops, no questions asked. But what does this mean for India? This report tells you more.
Donald Trump's Gaza peace push is taking a new turn, one that runs through Islamabad. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir is expected in Washington in the coming weeks as the Trump administration looks for muscle to help enforce its 20-point peace proposal. At the heart of talks, a US request for Pakistani troops to join a proposed international stabilization force in Gaza, one Trump wants framed as the Islamic world backing his plan. Pakistan, the only Muslim nuclear-armed state, offers powerful symbolism. But that symbolism comes with both risk for Washington and concern for India. In New Delhi, Munir's increasing closeness to Washington raises red flags. While India and the US work together on counter-terrorism efforts, Trump embraces a failed and rising authoritarian field marshal who harbors terror groups and repeatedly provokes India. Any international rehabilitation of Pakistan's military leadership, especially under the banner of peacekeeping, risks sanitizing this image. There's also a security concern. If Pakistani troops gain operational experience, legitimacy and renewed Western backing through Gaza, it could embolden the very military establishment India has long viewed as a destabilizing force in its neighborhood. Back in Pakistan, Munir leads a military accused of repression. Sending Pakistani troops into Gaza could spark fierce backlash in a country where public support for Palestinians is overwhelming and distrust of the US motives runs deep. Critics say for Trump, this is less about peace and more about optics. By elevating Munir, the US president appears to be outsourcing political legitimacy to dictatorial generals, while the hardest questions remain unanswered. Who governs Gaza? Who disarms Hamas? And where Palestinians themselves fit into the plan?
And turbulence is rising in Trumpland, and it's coming from multiple fronts that strike at the heart of both power and perception. Now, viewers, deadline looms for the release of Epstein files, a saga that Trump just could not get off his back, reigniting those uncomfortable questions about past associations and transparency. No new criminal findings have been established against Donald Trump, but politically the shadow is back and it's loud. Meanwhile, an explosive Vanity Fair interview with Susie Wiles, one of Donald Trump's most trusted political aides, offers that rare insight into the internal tensions and loyalty tests and the pressure cooker inside his inner circle. Now, here is the world's most powerful man, and look at what Wiles revealed, that he was indeed in the Epstein files, believes himself to be invincible, and she says that as far as the vice president is concerned, he is a conspiracy theorist, backing Trump only for political convenience. What's the picture that is being painted of White House? That is supposed to be, Oval Office is supposed to be the most powerful office in the world. Is it chaos or is this controlled damage? Well, Donald Trump thrives on conflict. But even by his standards, the noise is actually escalating. But governing standards, stability, and right now, the turbulence is coming from within his own walls. And that's not just a distraction, that's a warning sign. To talk more, let's in fact get in Sarah Claire, who's a foreign policy analyst, to understand, well, what's really happening as far as Trump-Lamont is concerned. Well, Susie, Wiles actually painted a very terrible picture as far as White House is concerned. Chaotic, distraction, full of distractions, and one where Donald Trump is really not the boss.
Susie Wiles' interview is, the administration and many outside sources have confirmed that the interview was very heavily edited or very heavily, skewed to sound negative. So I think that Trump's base and his supporters are very used to the left-wing media and the way that they have characterized Trump. So I don't think it's affected his base very much. It may have affected, swing voters or people who already didn't like Trump.
Okay. But that's not the only thing that should be worrying the administration. There's the Epstein files as well. Do you think explosive details could actually damage the administration like nothing else?
Epstein files, this is a left-wing media obsession. This is something that the Democrats are really driving, and President Trump just isn't focused on it, and neither is a lot of his base or just ordinary everyday Americans. Because there are so many other problems that are in America that are affecting people's everyday lives. The affordability crisis that he actually talked about in the speech that he gave recently. And, these are the things that bother Americans, and they just don't have time to think about things like the Epstein files.
Are you saying that if the president's name comes out, it will not be damaging for the administration?
Clearly, if it were to be found that President Trump was actually 100% confirmed to have participated in what went on with Jeffrey Epstein, obviously that would be a huge scandal. But that I find that to be highly unlikely. I find what has been released has been people grasping at straws to try to make it look like President Trump was more involved than he was, and so many words have been twisted. So it would really have to be something that was very straightforward for it to make a difference at this point.
Let's agree to disagree there, Sarah Claire. I think that's going to be a big damaging for the administration. But thanks much for speaking to me on India Sense. All right, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, there's more news. His stated goal is to stop illegal immigration, but almost a year into his term, illegal and legal immigration has sadly become part of one single goal, one single objective. And what he's done the latest is that he's suspended the green card lottery system. Now, in the wake of the tragic shootings that took place at Brown University and MIT, where a suspected gunman killed 3 people, the Trump administration has suspended the U.S. green card lottery or the diversity visa program. The gunman was on the same visa program in the U.S., and that's why the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, has used that as an excuse, saying that this is now, it stands suspended. And she went on to say that this gunman should never have been allowed in our country through that visa program. But viewers, millions of Indians and other aspiring migrants and immigrants have been on several such immigration programs. Green Card Lottery is one such program offering hopeful gateway to opportunity, a legally sanctioned chance to study, work, and build a better life. Immigrants from across the globe have powered classrooms and research labs at institutions like MIT and Brown, contributing to science, technology, and culture that makes this policy pivot especially stark. The program randomly selects from nearly 20 million applicants with thorough vetting after selection. Taking a tragedy to pursue sweeping immigration policy goals, well, that's Trump 101 for you. Well, on that note, we wrap things up on this edition of India Sense. Thanks so very much for watching.